presenter and producer. I also serve as chief executive of Decipher Sport. We are an upstart sports tech venture aiming to maximize fan bases across Europe and North America through immersive experiences and gamification. And that, of course, brings us nicely on to today's panel discussion, which is 5G and the information highway. Through the course of the next 45 minutes, we will be discussing the implications of enhanced connectivity. There's the obvious benefits of higher bandwidth, lower latency, and of course, the possibility of network slicing. And to discuss the implications of 5G, we are in the company of what can only be described as an all-star panel. Joining us first, we have Manish Upadhyay, who is the global head of sports tech at Tech Mahindra. Glad you could join us, Manish.
Hey, thank you, Sid. I think there is no better thing than starting the day with 5G and sports. So I'm very excited.
And three great panelists with us. I'm going to introduce all of them. So we have Sam Joseph, who is a sports scientist working with World Performance. He's based in Australia and an ASCA level 2 strength and conditioning coach with a vast experience across the professional, semi-professional, and school.
Satish, can you log off?
He also holds a applied master's from Deakin University and a bachelor in exercise and sports science with first-class honors from University of Queensland.
Wow. Maybe you can. Do you think you can mute him?
I tried. I don't think I can. No.
Okay.
We have to start again. Maybe. Yeah.
Well, take it from the top. Well, okay. Well, we'll take it from your introduction, Manish. So the breakfast of champions is 5G and sports, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm saying, I just landed last evening from India, and I was so excited about this session. So I'm saying there is no better way than, starting the day of discussion with 5G and sports. I'm very excited and looking forward to hear the view of industry pundits, which is Paulo, which is Ranjit and everyone. And I hope that we'll be able to provide a lot of takeaways to the world at the end of the session.
Likewise, Manish, thanks ever so much for joining us, as I said earlier. Joining Manish, of course, is Paulo Carrito, who is a thought leader, a visiting professor, and an expert in the economical, technological, and political innovation in sport, who I believe joins us from Rome. So a very good afternoon to you, Paulo.
Hi, good afternoon to you, and hi, everybody, the panelists and the visitors. I'm very happy to be there with you because India probably is the most largest future market for sport industry. So I'm very happy to have many friends there and to be part of your ecosystem. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Delighted to have you on board, Paulo. And finally, rounding off the panel is Ranjit Bhatti, who is the Senior Director, South Asia at LiveView. So thanks very much indeed for joining us, Ranjit.
Thank you, Sid, and thank you, GSC, for having me here. And it's absolutely a pleasure to be with the industry experts like Manish and Paulo, and of course, yourself, Sid.
Thanks very much indeed, Ranjit. Now, of course, there is... Apologies, not quite sure what happened there, but let's just sort of crack on. So it's no secret that, of course, 5G does promise to transform fan engagement, the fan experience, as well as different business models across broadcasting, sponsorship, commercial deals, and of course, gate revenue. A quick stat just to set things up for the audience, for viewers at home, whoever's tuned in. Thanks ever so much for your time. But here we go. Now, 5G is expected to carry 35% of the world's mobile traffic by 2024. So that's about 3 years from now, of course. And an Intel Commission report claimed that 5G would add $1.3 trillion in revenue for the media and entertainment industry by 2028. So even though we will be doing a bit of future gazing as part of this particular panel, it's not very much in the distant future, if that makes sense, of course. Changes are coming thick and fast. We can talk about what Verizon Media have, of course, done in the US market with their NFL and Super Bowl activations, as well as what BT and EE have done here in the UK with the EE Wembley Cup, which ended up being the first ever 5G sports broadcast way back in 2018. So to kick things off, Manish, I'd like to start with yourself. Talk us through what Tech Mahindra, of course, are doing in the connectivity and 5G space, and how do you see that area of the industry evolving going forward?
So thank you, Sid, and thanks everyone once again. I think 5G is a very interesting area, and we being Our DNA is pretty telco driven. If you see Tech Mahindra, the first engagement when we started as a company is Mahindra British Telecom. Yeah. So we started with a telco. And if you go to any telco provider across the globe, you find we are doing some kind of digital or network transformation across the globe, anywhere in the globe, any tier 1, tier 2 telco. So that's pretty much in our DNA. And what we are seeing, that how we can take the 5G, we don't want to keep it telco specific. How can we create a B2B2C kind of model? So how can we use it for healthcare, for the robotic surgery? How can we take it to the manufacturing, for an example? Yeah. For whether the 3D modeling or whether it's a remote manufacturing, or remote design, whatever. Yeah. Sports is a very, very, very specific area and very close to my heart. And I was talking to me and my team. We were personally started taking more and more interest on that. And pandemic has given us a lot of opportunity, lot of challenge, and a lot of thirst also, that how we can bring the rollout of some 5G and sports specific use cases early in the life cycle. So let me tell you what exactly we are trying to do. So we are doing some kind of pilots where we are saying, how can I bring a stadium to home and home to stadium? So Sid, if I see on your back, there is a very nice table with a lot of footballs and trophies are there. Can I project the UEFA final match on it and you can watch it from every angle? Yeah. So that's the power of 5G. That's the kind of immersive experience I'm talking about. Second is home to stadium. So suppose you, me, and Ranjit, we decided to watch a game at Wembley, which is Euro final, and Ranjit has some work in India. Yeah, he did not join us in UK. Yeah, and after reaching the stadium, we make a 5G holographic call, and Ranjit is actually occupying the seat between me and Sid as if he's sitting next to us, and sharing every expression as if he's just sitting next to us. So that's the power of 5G, and that's the kind of use cases we are working on. And this has a very tremendous potential, because if you see, pandemic has given us a lot of challenges. The stadium have very limited capacity. If you see the number of COVID cases after Euro 2021 final, it has gone like anything. So there are very limited capacity at the stadium. And that is a challenge as well as an opportunity, that how can we connect even more fans to the game, and bringing fans closer to the game, or bring the stadium to the home and home to the stadium. So that's the biggest use case for the sports industry. And I am having a very positive conversation with broadcasters. I am having very positive conversations with the leading sports leagues. I am having conversations with telcos, and they all can see, and maybe Paulo can add later on this, they all can see how they can, recover the technical uplift of 4G to 5G, that cost, and plus make more money from fans from this sports.
Indeed, thanks for that, Manish. And I think you touched upon something that very much is at the core of 5G, which is bringing the fans closer to the action, bringing the action closer to the fans. Equally so, Ranjit, I'd like to involve you in the discussion at this point. Now, of course, there's a huge potential, well, there's a huge argument to be made for 5G and a full-scale rollout because of remote production. Now, of course, Manish alluded to this, that the pandemic has, of course, thrown up a number of different challenges, both in terms of sports production as well as attending live sport. Now, when it comes to remote production, having 5G connectivity, of course, enables people not to have as many production personnel on the ground. It still enables a fairly consistent quality of the product itself, regardless of which tier of sport you're talking about. And then, of course, ultimately, that reduces carbon footprint. You don't take as many flights, you don't move as much equipment, of course, which is what the planet needs, quite frankly. So from your standpoint and the work Live you have been doing, what are the implications of 5G and enhanced connectivity on your remote production ops, or REMI?
So thank you, Sept. So first of all, thanks for also explaining what remote production is, because probably it's a very technical word. So maybe the general audience would not follow what remote production is. So just to give them a simple understanding, when we talk about remote production, we're talking about covering the game or the event without actually sending the whole crew and the entire kit and everything, putting a studio up at the stadium. So everything is done back at the studio itself, and it's basically the connectivity, whether it is fiber or whether it is satellite or whether it is now using or possibly using the 5G infrastructure, which will be really great when it comes. That's why it's so exciting. It's because it will replace all the fiber costs and all the satellite costs, and it will help it'll help to bring down the cost of connectivity tremendously. So in terms of today, or in terms of even before pandemic, people have been using remote production effectively for all kinds of sports, not just the tier 1 sports, but also for tier 2 and tier 3. And it's sometimes it's used for like you said, for saving costs, for not sending your crew all the way to different cities with different kits, production kits, and setting up studios at different venues. So remote production is definitely something where the industry is heading, and we are seeing a lot of benefits in terms of producing more content as well as saving cost. So
top stuff. Yeah, go on.
So yeah, and with terms of 5G, we feel that the cost obviously because there are certain venues, let's say in countries like India, and we're talking about let's not talk about tier 1 games, let's say tier 2 games or tier 3 games, where certain venues would not have the infrastructure of a fiber, or it's not cost effective to involve satellite. In such a scenario, if you're using just the SIM cards from telecom operators, it becomes very, very viable for production, for producing more and more content. And remote production is more effectively being used there very much. Also in sports, which are not in stadium sports, like for example cycling, for example rallies, marathons, even parasailing and such kind of things. So there it's not probably feasible to have fiber terminating and stuff like that. So it's a moving sport. So their remote production has been used more effectively. Why? Because instead of sending the entire crew here and there and setting up huge infrastructure over there, remote production would basically mean sending the entire video footage to your home studio. It could be at home, which is within the production studio. It could be based in Mumbai, London, anywhere in the world, and the team is sitting there itself, and the entire team is sitting there itself without having to move to different locations. Like you said, no airfare, no hotel fare, nothing. Same kit, and they're able to produce the content more effectively.
Top stuff. Thanks for that, Ranjit. Now let's change tack ever so slightly and talk about fan engagement. Paolo, I'd like to bring yourself into the discussion at this point. Talk us through the immersive augmented reality and fan engagement experiences that 5G connectivity will unlock at venues in Europe going forward.
Hi everyone, once again, and thanks Sid for your question, and to share with you my opinion about how the operation of events changed with the integration of 5G. From more immersive viewing experience to extended playing careers, next generation networks will change the way we play and watch sports. 5G promises to transform the way we watch and play sport, providing a host of new 5G use cases. And the best part is that the revolution is already begun. Years are just a few ways 5G will change the world of sport forever. The world of sport is sure one of the first industry that is stand to benefit. One of the main reasons for this is that is a perfect showcase for so many new applications that there are relatively easy to implement. What to expect from 5G? A lot. Because 5G will transform the fan experience, change the way sports organizations operate, open up new revenues opportunities, help athletes improve their fitness and training programs, assist coach and referees, change our viewing habits, and a lot more. Stadium to go to your specific question, will never be the same again. 5G will totally change the stadium experience. No doubt you can recall a stadium visit where You were totally frustrated as you could not send out any WhatsApp or tweets, let alone connect to social network. This will not be acceptable for future fans like Gen Z. Likely the introduction of 5G will change this and much more. With 5G, an extra layer of entertainment and convenience can be added, which will elevate your experience big time. For a start, you can send out your all important messages, tweets, photos right away without being annoyed about the lack of capacity of the network. In fact, your 5G enabled mobile phone can now be changed in a game console where you as a fan can decide what you want to experience. You are in perfect control. Do you want to have your picture taken with one of your favorite player? Consider it done. Do you want to have your face painted in your team's color? Done. It all can be realized with augmented reality and 5G and much more, such as, for example, zooming in with your phone on a match day program and getting a whole kind of interactive experience. So you can look at replays shown from whatever angle you want as 360 degrees cameras will record all the action. You can have input on your HoloLens and experience to view of player and field of joining in celebrating a goal. So your phone will truly become the best box with lots of fun, experience, and games. For going again to your specific question, what is the situation in Europe and around the world about the implementation of 5G in stadia? Same stadiums already start experimenting with 5G, such as, for example, Barcelona iconic now Camp Stadium, which is the first one in Europe equipped with a dedicated 5G network. Several wireless 360 degrees cameras have already been installed there, and fun watching at home can watch the game with their virtual reality headset on. But it's not only, of course, the only one case. For example, in the United States, the AT&T Stadium in Dallas and the Golden First Center Arena of Sacramento Kings are amongst the front runners in this best case. In Dallas, for example, fans just have to hold up their 5G enabled phones, and immediately the stadium transforms into an arena with giant football player. Is an awesome picture. So 5G has the potential to make the operation of major events for more efficient. At Tokyo 2020 plus 2021 Olympics, for example, staff will be trained using virtual arenas and the wider use of digital twins. Digital representation of a physical space could be revolutionary in aiding preparedness. For example, venue managers would be able to simulate scenarios such as an evacuation procedure of new queuing site system without causing disruption. 5G makes all these effective by reducing the latency and allowing for the creation of virtual reality application. And then, if you want, on the second round table, we can speak about other specific benchmark case.
Thanks for that, Paolo. You've certainly touched upon quite a bit there. One of the things that really piqued my interest whilst you were speaking is the IoT, or Internet of Things, connected devices. So you can basically have your 5G connected phone or any other device, for example, and you can potentially enter stadiums ticketless, which of course had a major implication with the COVID-19 pandemic, with social distancing. You don't want to be touching too many surfaces. And there's also in-seat concessions whereby you could be sat in your seat and order, let's say, drinks or food at a stadium, which will of course completely transform the existing fan experience, where we all end up queuing up at halftime, hoping to get a pint of food, which never really happens. So at this point, Manish, I'd like to come back to yourself. Now, there'll certainly be a discussion around monetization in terms of what are the different ways in which the business model can be altered, what are ways in which organizations can leverage 5G and therefore monetize. Let's first talk about a few sports-specific use cases. You earlier alluded to all the work that Tech Mahindra have been doing, looking at healthcare, looking at sport, looking at a bunch of other verticals. Quite specifically, what sport use cases excite you the most?
So, as I said, if you see how the world has changed, and Paulo has touched upon one of the chord, how the sport was being played before the pandemic and how it was being consumed before the pandemic, vis-a-vis how it is or will be played and consumed will be entirely different. And I think the technology like, your 5G, AR, VR, IoT or AI will be a huge differentiator. Yeah. So if you see the use case, I can watch a UEFA final or a FIFA final game on my television or my mobile phone. But if I am taking a call or I am on an office call, and if I want to project that game on my table from where I'm speaking now, yeah, that will be a very different kind of revenue generation model, or there is a very different kind of revenue stream, which broadcasters and telcos or even a sports organization, they can look at it and work on a commercial model around it. Similarly, if I need to teleport myself, so if you remember the first La Liga game happened after the pandemic, what has happened, people, they actually put their names on the seats. Yeah. Then if you see NBA, there is a Zoom or Microsoft Team screens have been projected across the stadium. Yeah. Now here I need not to go to the stadium, avoid the traffic hassle. I can project myself to a particular seat in the stadium. I can block that particular seat and watch the game as if I'm actually sitting in front of the, those players. And also there are a lot of use cases. I can have a virtual visit to the players' dressing room. I can actually hold my beer in or drink in my drawing room or living room, and walk if in the virtual arena as if I'm walking in the stadium. So there are a lot of use cases, primarily two use cases I said, which will bring fans closer to the game and action. One is, how can I bring stadium to the home in a very immersive way, and how can I bring fans to the stadium in a very immersive way. And I think these two use cases will have a lot of potential to make money. And because these two use cases, as if I'm saying, are exciting, the Gen Z, Gen X of the world. And these are the generation, they don't mind spending 70% of their pay, on the day one of the month. So that's the kind of, use cases I am seeing. And I'm sure no one knows better than this about these experiences. So creating these experiences, building a revenue model around it, and monetizing on it. And 5G has a huge potential. And as I said, soon, from Tech Mahindra perspective, you'll see some of these use cases are we'll start trialing it out. You start seeing it. So I'm very excited. The future is very bright. And, you don't require any physical ticket in the stadium. You just buy a virtual ticket sitting at your living room going forward. So that's the potential of 5G. And that's the future from revenue and monetization perspective.
Thanks very much indeed. Very, very comprehensive there, Manish, and much appreciated, of course, because these well and truly are exciting times. Now, Ranjit, I'd like to come to you once again. Now, a lot's been said about untethered cameras, i.e. cameras that are not hardwired in many ways, which then, of course, enables people to start with, let's say, 4 camera positions, but convert them to 8 camera positions or 16 camera positions through 5G connected devices, i.e. 5G connected cameras. This, of course, has a number of different implications. It can allow you to follow a team from the team bus. So imagine Real Madrid arriving at the Santiago Bernabeu in their bus. You can follow them from there all the way to the tunnel, and then, of course, unlock a lot of behind-the-scenes content. There's certainly a monetization angle to introducing more behind-the-scenes content. But from your standpoint, from a connectivity standpoint, what impact will more connectivity have on unleashing more content and ultimately, of course, engaging fans?
Very good question, Sid. So let me give you an example, probably that I can, the audience can also relate to, and I hope it's not a football related club, but it's a very popular club called the Kolkata Knight Riders, KKR, and I hope, since this is probably being aired mostly in India, so I think a lot of people would know who KKR is. Now, KKR is, as Manish said earlier on that, the IPL is now moved last year as well, and also this year it's happening in outside the country. Now, a lot of people in India, they generally, because IPL is so big here, and cricket is so big here, everybody would go to the stadium to catch a glimpse of their favorite players and to probably satisfy their fan following, and go to the stadiums and try to see a sneak peek even what's happening before the game or what's happening after the game. Here, what happens is KKR and also a lot of major football clubs, they have their own websites or portals where they are providing a lot of content for consumption to their fans. Now, this is not just the main games. We're talking about everything which is outside the main games. So, for example, something which is like a special event. Let's say Paulo is a star player for Manchester United. Today is his birthday, and his fans would like to see what he is doing on his birthday. So, how do you provide that content to the fans? And this is a good reason for all the fans to come and hit Manchester United online. And of course, when there's a lot of traffic hitting your website, what happens? The merchandise and all the monetization, etc. This is the way to increase the traffic, and then more content you throw for your fans to consume, which of course they are dying to. They're very much looking forward to. So they want to consume that kind of content. There's a reason for the audience to keep coming back again and again, not just when there's a game, but even beyond that, to come back to your portal. And then more traffic, more monetization. We all know that it leads to more monetization. It could be, it could be just sale of products, or it could be sponsorship, getting more ads, whichever way.
Indeed, thanks for that, Ranjit. And if we still have Manish with us, I'd want to have a quick follow-up to yourself, Manish, essentially around monetization, of course. Now, we discussed about behind-the-scenes content, which, of course, gives a new revenue stream to different broadcasters. But you also mentioned Gen Z earlier in your previous answer. And when you look at Gen Z, what sort of attracts Gen Z the most? It's not really subscription models. It's getting them through a free funnel, offering a product up for free, and then through microtransactions, monetizing your product. Prime examples of this include Twitch, which is obviously a very popular game streaming platform now owned by Amazon, and Twitch's equivalent in China, which is Huya, for example, which has been successfully doing this as well. Now, with 5G coming out in full force, at least in Europe, North America, and hopefully in Asia in the not too distant future, do you think the business model of a number of stakeholders in sport will evolve to go from subscription models to perhaps more microtransactions through a free funnel?
So Sid, you again touched a very important part of the 5G and the future of sports. So let me tell you two keywords: phygital and freemium. Yeah. So the whole experience is changing from physical to digital. And soon, anyway, the gate revenue for any of the sporting league, if you leave just FIFA and UEFA aside, yeah, it is around 5%. The most of the revenues come from broadcast and advertising. Now, if whole thing is moving from physical to digital, imagine the number of sponsors we can put in any digital feed or any digital stream on 5G. Yeah, in a stadium perimeter board, you can either put 100 or 200, not beyond that. Those many, the brands they can advertise. But here, at every moment, at every important moment of the game, you can give an opportunity for brand to get activated. Yeah. And monetize on their brand value. So that's number one. Number two, if you are saying the microtransaction, I absolutely agree with you. So when I say freemium, so if I'm a fan and I'm trying to get accustomed to, or getting subscribed to a 5G feed as a free subscriber first time, the brand can give an experience pretty much like YouTube. The ad comes in between kind of thing. Yeah. And slowly it is going to get evolved to the, the premium model, where you have to pay for getting an uninterrupted feed, or without, the commercials, or without adverts. And again, the subscription model has started evolving, that any point of time, if I'm getting a better 5G experience, for an example on Sky, I'll go there, for that particular game. Or if I'm getting something better on BBC, or if I'm getting something better on Star, I can go and switch game by game. So these are the models which are already evolving. And this Gen Z and Gen X, they're pretty experience driven. So if tomorrow, as a Gen Z, if I'm watching game on, from 16 camera angles on a 5G feed on Sky, and after that I realized that the Viacom or Star has offered something with 64 camera angles, where I just want to see if Messi has hit a goal. The camera is just positioned on the top of the ball. How does the shot looks like? Yeah. So reimagining all this experience and providing that, so this will drive the transaction based model. I'm very confident of, and the competition will be more fierce, but that will also give us everyone an opportunity to innovate. And as I said, bringing fans closer to the game and action will be the key. Whosoever will be able to provide the most extraordinary experience will completely take over the game.
Thanks for that, Manish. Some excellent insights as always, and there will be a bit more to be discussed in terms of gamified experiences and perhaps immersing fans a bit more at home in just a moment. But before that, Paolo, I'd like to come back to yourself at this point. You mentioned 360-degree cameras at stadiums. VR 360, of course, is something that's been mentioned quite a bit. Virtual reality 360, of course, enabled through better connectivity, available within the app specifically. So not so much linear TV or a normal television screen, but more sort of your second devices, your second screens, etc. What sort of augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality experiences do you think we should be most excited about? Should there be a full 5G rollout?
Yes, if 5G is far from daily replacing 4G, many arenas around the world are already equipped. For example, for going in Europe, Vodafone, in partnership with the Bundesliga, is deploying 5G in German football stadium. In France, for example, the Velodrome of Marseille is also 5G enabled thanks to Orange. In USA, I told in my last talking, AT&T is also deploying the technology in NBA and NFL stadium. More generally, the 84% of European mobile network operators plans to provide new 5G services to sport infrastructure operators by the end of 2021. The main goal is reducing the fans' frustration to not being able to use their device in stadium during sport events, to follow other games, to stream the game by themselves, or just chatting with their friends while at the stadium. Is completely changed the way of thinking the entering in the stadium, and the way of viewing the live game, or the way of viewing the game by OTT screen. So with 5G, the antennas should be able to handle a lot more users. Also, the bandwidth available will be for greater, allowing users to receive or send large amounts of data with very low latency. As sport fans also like to be empowered by speaking up, they will probably become content creators in the future with 5G improved connected. So everybody will become user-generated content in stadium, and will be a huge opportunity for broadcaster and OTT platform too. For example, we can already imagine fans streaming their own experience of the game with the comment and their own viewpoints, and share it on platform like Twitch. We can go further and image fans using augmented reality content on top of the video on the smartphone, and providing real-time analysis of the game thanks to the augmenting reality graphics on the field. Sport events, for doing to your words, will probably be gamified if everyone in stadium is able to stream, take videos, picture, and share them instantly on social media or with their friends. And all these I call entertainment, because it's not just sport, but is a game, is a contest in a larger contest that is entertainment, where the interaction between the pitch, between the fan, between the OTT viewers, is a whole platform of interaction between gamification, social media, sport talking. So it's a unique world, and we can talk only about sport, but just currently we are not speaking about future. Is just in time. All these, we are in the entertainment era, and so it could be a very collaboration opportunities between fans in the stadium with the multiplayers games and live interaction in the arena. Also, the OTT and the broadcaster will have an advantage from all these, because will increase the TV experience, will increase will increase the contents, will increase the viewpoints that the cameraman can take from all these. So everybody will provide to do a very big show. The pitch is only the scenography of all these. Is not never a game. Is the scenography or entertainment show bigger than the game?
Indeed. Well, thanks very much indeed for that, Paolo. You've touched upon a couple of really key cornerstones. You mentioned user-generated content, or UGC. There's also athlete-generated content, which of course has been spoken about over the last few, 18 months at least, ever since the pandemic came. And then of course, fan-generated content, which ties into the same principle. But something you touched upon, which brings me very nicely on to my next question, which will be to Manish, was gamification and gamified experiences. Now, Manish, you've mentioned Gen Z, and we are talking about the future. So let's talk about Gen Z and their content consumption preferences going forward. One of the reasons why esports is so successful on Twitch or on Huya or other such platforms is because, it enables two-way interactivity, i.e. fans can have live polls, they can have chats, they can interact with themselves, their mates, a bunch of others, of course, in a very public platform that's there for everyone to see. Linear TV, of course, doesn't offer that. So linear TV is a one-way interaction, which obviously lacks the interactivity of platforms such as Twitch. Now with 5G, with enhanced bandwidth going forward, with better connectivity perhaps, how do you see gamified experiences evolving, and how crucial will they be to attract that Gen Z audience?
So Sid, very, very thoughtful question. And I think the way this discussion is going on, I doubt that, My next session will be all 5G enabled as well. So, I think gamification is very important. I'll give you one example, and I'll tell you more about how, my strategy for sports tech to, my customers, my patrons, and my partners and my organization, how we are seeing it is going to get enable or unlock the state of the art experience for everyone. So when we launched our first app for one of the leading IPL teams, that was a time when the game was happening in Dubai. The IPL game was happening in Dubai, and it was completely closed door. And one of the leading team, they came to us. They said, "Look, we have a very basic app, but our fans are very enthusiastic. We want them to cherish and enjoy every moment of the game." Yeah. So what did we do? We created a AR/VR enabled fan zone, which Paulo has mentioned in some of the things, the face filters and all. And whatever your Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitch offers, we try to provide a glimpse of it just to experiment that how the fans, they respond to it. And we had our, the release planned. If they like something, we'll go to the next version of it. If they don't like something, we'll scrap it, because there is no silver bullet. And when the whole world is changing, you need to reimagine and redefine the fan experience. And how can you bring them closer to the game, players, and action? And to our surprise, it was not top in the league IPL team, but within 3 weeks of the tournament, they got 1 million impression. They did not have that many downloads in last 16 years. Yeah, just in 3 weeks, they got a 1 million impression. And that was a kind of, eye opener for all of us, even that team also. And they decided to invest more and more on the digital initiative. So that's the power of gamification. And it was something like that, today, what is the most powerful device you have is your mobile phone. You open the phone, it is AR enabled, it is VR enabled. You just, we have created face filters where the team, color or theme will come on your cheek, or you may have a selfie in a very AR VR based environment with your favorite player. Yeah, as if he's sitting next to you or keeping, his hand on your shoulder. That was a fan moment. And then we started thinking about how can we create a super fan kind of thing. Yeah, where someone, your favorite player, after the game decides who is the super fan and come to you and tell you, what is his exercise regime or what salad he preferred to eat. And that is one of the way, connecting fans throughout the year rather than just, the event around or very sporadic. Yeah. And that has also created potential for everyone. If you see, Messi signed a deal with PSG, and if you see the merchandise sale has gone all the way up. Yeah, suddenly. Yeah, so everyone started buying that particular t-shirt. Now, gamification is very important, but how does it link to our strategy? I will just tell you, which all of us we were talking about, whether it's a Ranjit, whether it's Apollo, whether it's me. There are 4 important dimensions of implementing this with the 5G and monetizing on it. I put it as a content, community, and commerce, and that is enabled by data. Because whatever we are doing with the content, with the community, with the commerce, we are capturing the data. Who is uploading it? At what point he is uploading it? Knowing the person, knowing the fans personally. So that you can make personalized recommendation to them. And all these 3 circles are very interrelated and very integral part of our strategy. How do we see the sports technology 5G will evolve together in coming years? Yeah. So the content, even if if I talk about Manchester United or any big leagues, they have millions of fans on the social media. But if they reach out to those fans, they have to pay some money to Instagram and Facebook. So how can I move these fans from a rented social media property, my own mobile app or my own website? How can my own website and app start acting like a social media channel? So that's the strategy, people, they are working on it. Yeah. So that's the first part is, the reaching out to your fan, which is the content and data part of it. Yeah. The second part, once I have the data of my fan, I can engage with them. I know them very personally through the analytics and AI. And I can offer every fan at right time at what they are looking for. Yeah. And build a fan tribe. And that will also help me to convert a high value seasonal fan to high value year-round fan, or low value year-round fan to high value year-round fan. We are working on some very crazy thing, which is called the cross-pollination of fan. How can I convert a Liverpool fan to a Man U fan? Yeah. And that's all lies in data. Yeah. And you can create any gamification around it to drive your end strategy. Now, third part, which is the commerce. Now, the commerce has also changed because of thanks to this pandemic. Whether it's your so merchandise is very, very integral part of it. We are doing a lot of work with International Cricket Council on the merchandise part of the business, and where we are providing the very digital experience. So for World Test Championship, the kind of digital experience we provided, we got a very terrific response because only 20% of the audience have been allowed into the stadium. But because they have a digital enablement, they are able to buy and click and collect at any of the stores or at the stadium. So we have provided that convenience for them, for us to take care of the health and safety. The second part of that is digital memorabilia and NFT, which is again related to the commerce. So we are thinking about, all this technology, how we can bring and get the best out of the content community and commerce in a very orchestrated way. Because if you not do it right, it will fire you back, kind of thing. And there is no silver bullet. The transformation is always messy. Content, community, commerce, these are the moving pieces. Keeping them right at the same time, you require a lot of iterations. What is working, what is not working. Yeah. And that is something we are working on a long term, and gamification is, of course, the outcome of bringing all these three things together.
Manish, you've touched upon so many important things there. I mean, towards the end of it, you mentioned NFT in sport, blockchain technology with fan engagement. The biggest example, of course, being the NBA Top Shot. And I wanted to go back and have a look just for the benefit of our audience. There's $230 million that have been spent on trading video highlights exclusively to the NBA by way of Top Shot. So that's just a clear indication for all of you to know which way the industry is headed. Another quick example is there was a video clip of LeBron James, of course, of the LA Lakers dunking, which sold for $208,000 US. So all of this is happening now. It's not quite the future. This is very much indeed the present. Okay, now as we approach the last 5 to 7 minutes of the panel, I'd like to quickly go through and have a few quick fire questions to all of you. Ranjit, I'll start with yourself. We've obviously spoken about remote production. Let's talk about virtualized workflows, because that ties into the work you've been doing. Distinguish centralized and decentralized remote production for the audience, and also tell us the key changes you see in that sphere going forward.
Thank you. So when we talk about more and more live content being produced, which is where I think fan engagement is really driven by more and more live videos, more and more live content. So when we look at producing them, when we talk about remote production now, because it's very, very cost effective. So in terms of remote production, again, there is, like you said, centralized as well as decentralized kind of production. When centralized, or the way I would also say it is, the other name for it is at-home production, is where you're having the content being covered and being streamed directly to maybe a studio anywhere in the world, and the entire team is sitting together. So that would be an example of centralized production. Now with the pandemic, people don't even want to go to the studio, so then they want to do it from anywhere, maybe across locations. It could be maybe Paolo sitting in Rome, you're maybe in UK, I'm in Mumbai, and we all three working together on the same project, using the cloud. So everything is on the cloud. So instead of going to a studio where we work together, we are actually having all our technology put up in the cloud, and then we are streaming using the bandwidth or using fiber to the cloud. And from the cloud, all of us are accessing our tools, our production tools, and then that's more of a decentralized kind of a workflow. In both cases, nowadays we are seeing that the adoption of the cloud is really picking up, and then we're working with other OEMs from the broadcast industry, technology providers such as Avid, Grass Valley, and many more who are also looking in this direction and getting RT for that matter. So all these kind of people are also putting their solutions across cloud, and then LiveView would be basically used to use the 5G bandwidth and then stream through multiple angles, through multiple cameras. We will provide the content live to the cloud, and from there it would be produced using various tools and the workflow, either basically sitting out of a studio somewhere anywhere in the world together, or the team sitting together, or maybe sitting in their respective zones, time zones, or respective homes and connecting on the cloud. So both ways are possible. I think with the pandemic, a lot of our customers have chosen or have adopted more of the cloud. It was always like sitting on the fence that should we go for the cloud or not. But then with the pandemic, there was no option. You couldn't have everybody come to your studio, whatever you may have gear worth millions of dollars, but it's of no use unless you have your operators, coming to the studio to operate them. So finally, we found ways of having them sit at their home and work from there. And now I think in the future it will be probably a mix of both, but definitely it depends on what workflows they prefer. But even decentralized remote production using the cloud is really, really effective. We've seen that now.
No, you're spot on, Ranjit. I mean, it's the future, isn't it? Now, for the benefit of our audience, a practical example of decentralized sports production would be an IPL match where the producer is sat at his or her place in Mumbai, for example. The director could be sat at his or her place in Delhi, the vision mixer in Chandigarh, for example, and all of them would be working seamlessly because it's all in the cloud. And then, of course, even Paolo mentioned Tokyo 2020. There was a huge partnership, of course, between OBS, Olympic Broadcasting Services, and Alibaba. And of course, their cloud technology certainly elevated the quality of the production and enabled a number of different ways of perhaps augmenting it for the audience at home. Now, as we do a bit more future gazing, Manish, I'd like to come back to yourself. Now, two main things that we talk about when it comes to 5G in Europe, at least, is sports betting and esports. These are both things, of course, that require very low latency, and lower latency, of course, enhances the experience, makes it more fair. Sports betting may not be relevant to our audience today just because of different litigation and legalities, but let's talk about esports. Now, there's certainly a growing audience. There's certainly a younger audience. The lower latency that esports affords devices with people being sat at home, how do you kind of see that playing a role in monetization, business models, as well as fan engagement in the future?
A very big role. If you see the industry which is growing at exponentially, I must say, is the esports. Yeah, and I was other day I was talking to one of my friend at the Enthusiast Gaming based out of Canada. Yeah, and where they were 8 months ago, and they've gone public at NYSE. Yeah, so they've launched an IPO. Yeah, so that's the kind of tremendous potential. But if you really see, and when I see my 9-year-old son Aryan, he's an avid gamer, and I start asking him the question. If you ask me whom did I learn from esports, it's my 9-year-old son. So he keeps his headphone on, he continues to play, he continues to chat, he continues to voice over and all that. And initially I used to feel, what is this? It's absolute wastage of time. But if you see, doing all this in a real time requires a very, very kind of different kind of bandwidth and very strong network connection, and that only 5G can offer. And again, it goes to a kind of very high speed highway, network highway, which is network slicing when you talk about. I think, and if an avid e-gamer, what does they hate? The screen is freezing, it's taking time for them to interact with their fellow e-gamers. I think that's the kind of experience which has to be avoided to grow the revenue for esports, or see the future of esports. So you require a very, very kind of strong network, the dedicated bandwidth, so that the experience, whether it's immersive experience, whether it's a talking to your fellow gamers, it has to be just in real time. And for that, I think there is 5G can enable a lot more. I think the best is yet to come, I must say. And I'm sure the more interactive games will come. Yeah, it will bring more and more from 5G, and that's the opportunity for 5G which I can foresee.
Thanks very much indeed for that, Manish. And I think, again, there's something that's really interesting in what you mentioned. You mentioned your son, Aryan, who, of course, introduced you to esports. Now, for any parents watching and tuning in to this particular panel, just to give you a sense of where esports is, just in case you think your kid's wasting their time playing video games, Fortnite, the Fortnite World Cup, the prize money for the Fortnite World Cup was $3 million. Now, let's put that into some context. Does anyone want to guess what the prize money for the 2018 Wimbledon, obviously considered the marquee of tennis, tournament was for first place? That's the men's final. Does anyone want to have a guess? It was lower. It was £2.25 million. So that's just to give you a sense of where esports is headed. So if you have a kid, a nephew, anyone at home who is playing video games, please do encourage them. This very much is the future. Perfect. Now, since we are coming to the end of this panel, I'll quickly ask Paolo to do a bit of future gazing, and then we can go around the table. So Paolo, really quickly, in a couple of sentences, what is it that we should look most forward to beyond what we've discussed with 5G and more connectivity in Europe and across the board?
In few words, the fan will also be able to be part of the broadcast system and production, offering to the market different viewpoints of the game from the arena, and brands will have the opportunity to involve them throughout the game. And all these is thanks to 5G, for sure. Just 1 minute, I want to thank you, everybody. I'm not Indian, but I'm sorry that today I will not be there, and I will be glad the next event of Global Soccer Conclave to be alive in that huge and fantastic Global Soccer Conclave rooms throughout the screen. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Grazie mille, Paolo. Much appreciated. Thanks very much indeed. Okay, Ranjit, let's get a couple of quick sentences from you. We've obviously discussed a lot. This has been a proper deep dive into 5G and connectivity. Is there anything else at all that we should keep an eye on, in your opinion, going forward?
I think 5G is something that we should keep an eye on. First of all, let's first understand what is the real impact that it will have on sports. So when we're talking about, we are all from different aspects of the game, like Manish, explained all the 3 C's. So we are all from the 3 different sides of those C's, and we are all connecting together. So when we talk about 5G, and when we talk about where I come from, from the live production and broadcast side of it, it's always, been a dream that you have more and more, richer content, which we can, send out to the sports, to the audiences for their consumption, and from the other side. When it comes to fans, they want to have more interactive and more realistic kind of an experience. So what was the challenge that was basically blocking this was the connectivity. Now, when you have 5G, if you have a 5G on the production side, let's start from where the content is being created. So it's always from creation to production to consumption. So when it is being created, you now have 5G. So when I say that today the content is being probably, when we stream it live, it's maybe done at 10 Mbps or 20 Mbps when you're using a combination of 3G, 4G cards, or probably, some other way. But we are using, most of it is done like, let's say 20 Mbps max. When it comes to 5G, you would have a single SIM card which will give you, and of course, we are already doing it in different parts of the world, so at least 50 Mbps for one SIM card. Now, when we talk about, let's say we can put 4 or 5 of them together, we have 200 Mbps. So now we can the content that can be streamed can be so much more richer, can be so much more better. At the same time, when we are able to, do the production and send it out to people like Manish, who would want to have a, let's say a VIP audience box kind of an experience for their fan engagement. So for them, with all the, VR and AR and the real lifetime kind of an experience, which is also interactive at the same time live or near live, the connectivity really matters. So for them, also having a 5G SIM card in their phone, in those phones that Manish was talking about, it's really important. So now the entire experience is going up to the next level. So this is a kind of change. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to really turn around, and a lot of people who were actually planning. For example, we did an event where, in every race car, we in front of the camera, in front of the driver's, I would say, thing, we put a camera up there, which could be like a GoPro camera. And we were able to live stream the view of each driver, each of the race cars, and the audience sitting in the, who were the premium audiences, who were paid audiences, but they could choose which, let's say I want to see Sid, how he's driving the car, what view he has. So I could go to Sid's car and I could actually see what Sid is seeing when he's driving and taking the turns, or what Paulo is doing. I could switch, So these kind of experiences are already there, but it could be even more richer, and it is going to be possible. So
Massively exciting times. Was it the IndyCar partnership that you had with LiveView, if I'm not mistaken?
No, this was, I think we did it with a third party who was the production company over there. Yeah.
But no better way of bringing this panel to a close. I mean, the fact is excitement is abundant and for good reason. And with that, Manish, we will close off the panel with your closing remarks and a bit of future gazing from yourself.
Hey, thank you, Sid, and thank you, Paulo and Ranjit. I think, and I'm sorry to slightly ignore the Global Soccer Conclave, because I think we should continue this discussion outside this forum also, because this is really getting interesting, and I'm very grateful to hear the thoughts of industry pundits here. If you honestly ask me, I'll just sum it up in one line. 5G has the potential and will change the world to bring fans even more closer to the game and grow the game.
Absolutely.
Emphatic and effective indeed. Manish, thanks very much once again for that. And with that, we will bring this particular panel discussion to a close. I think a few thank yous have been said, but it would be remiss of me not to thank our panelists once again. So I'd like to thank once again Manish Upadhyay, Global Business Head of Sports Tech at Tech Mahindra. Thank you, Manish. Paulo Carrito, thought leader, visiting professor, and an expert in economic, technological, and political innovation in sport, joining us from Rome. So thank you, Paulo. Grazie mille.
Thank you.
And of course, Ranjit Bhatti, Senior Director, South Asia at LiveView. Hopefully you all found that useful. 5G well and truly is the future. Keep engaged with the Global Soccer Conclave and hope to see you all in the not too distant future. That's all from me. Have a lovely rest of the week or weekend, and hopefully see you all soon.
Thank you, Sid. You've been a lovely host.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sid.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks all. Cheers.
Cheers.